It is tailored perfectly for a podcast, YouTube video, or audiobook. Read this with a steady pace, taking natural pauses between sections to hit that 50 to 60-minute mark. Audio script: Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Full book summary. Intro: The ultimate financial trap. Tone: engaging, eye-opening, friendly. Hey everyone, welcome back. Let me ask you a question. Growing up, how many times did you hear this piece of advice? Go to school, get good grades, and find a safe, secure job with great benefits so you can be set for life. Pretty much all of us heard that, right? But have you ever wondered why, despite working 40 to 50 hours a week, so many highly educated people are still living paycheck to paycheck? Why does the money seem to vanish by the middle of the month, leaving behind nothing but stress and stack of bills? Today, we are diving deep into one of the most disruptive and influential personal finance books ever written, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This book isn't just about how to make a quick buck. It's about completely uninstalling the outdated financial programming running in your head. Robert's story is unique because he grew up with two father figures who completely shaped his view of wealth. His biological father, whom he calls Poor Dad, was highly educated. He had a PhD, climbed the corporate ladder in government education, and made a great income. Yet he constantly struggled with debt and died with bills he couldn't pay. His mindset was, play it safe, avoid risks, and look for stability. On the other hand, his best friend's father, whom he calls Rich Dad, never even finished 8th grade. Yet, through financial street smarts, he built a massive business empire and became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. His mindset was completely different. Robert realized that the gap between the rich and the poor isn't just about the size of their bank accounts. It's about their mindset. Poor Dad would look at a luxury item and say, "I can't afford it." Rich Dad absolutely banned that phrase. Instead, he forced his kids to ask, "How can I afford it?" One statement shuts down your brain, the other forces it to think. Over the next 50 minutes, we are going to break down the 6 foundational lessons from this masterpiece. Put on your headphones, grab a notepad, and let's shift your financial reality. 5 minutes to 15 minutes. Section 1. The rich don't work for money. The rat race. Let's start with Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. To understand this, we have to look at the 2 primary emotions that govern human behavior when it comes to finances: fear and greed. First, let's talk about fear. For most people, fear is the driving force behind getting a job. It's the fear of not being able to pay rent, the fear of being broke, or the fear of what society will think. Because of this fear, people grab the first stable job they can find. They trade their time for a fixed paycheck just to feel safe. But then, the second emotion kicks in, greed, which is often disguised as desire. The moment that direct deposit hits the bank account, the brain starts firing up. Hey, look at that new iPhone, look at that car lease deal. Let's go out for an expensive dinner. People start buying things to get a temporary hit of joy. This creates a vicious, never-ending loop. You work hard out of fear. You get paid. You spend more out of greed. Now your lifestyle costs more, which increases your fear of losing your job, so you work even harder. Robert Kiyosaki calls this the rat race. It doesn't matter if you are a factory worker making $30,000 a year or a high-end corporate lawyer making $250,000 a year. If you are trapped in this emotional cycle, you are running on a wheel. You're running fast, but you're going absolutely nowhere. Rich Dad taught Robert that a traditional job is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. The problem is how to achieve true financial freedom, and a job alone will never solve that. If you want to break out of the rat race, you have to master your emotions, stop relying purely on your labor, and learn how to make money work for you. 15 minutes to 28 minutes. Section 2. Financial literacy, assets versus liabilities. Now, let's move on to the most critical section of the book, financial literacy. Rich Dad used to say, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep and how many generations you keep it for. The golden rule of wealth is incredibly simple. You must know the difference between an asset and a liability. And you must buy assets. The definitions given in schools or accounting textbooks can be confusing, so Rich Dad kept it simple enough for a 9-year-old to understand. An asset puts money into your pocket. It generates cash flow for you whether you show up to work or not. Examples include rental properties, stocks, mutual funds, intellectual property, or businesses that don't require your physical presence. A liability takes money out of your pocket. It costs you money just to own it. Examples include credit card debt, car loans, personal lines of credit, and subscription-heavy lifestyles. Let's look at the cash flow patterns to see exactly why the rich get richer and the middle class struggles. The poor and middle class cash flow looks like this. They get their income from a job. Immediately, they use that income to buy what they think are assets, but are actually liabilities. They sign up for a big mortgage, lease a brand new car, and buy designer clothes on credit cards. Their money flows from income straight through the liability column and out the door as expenses. Their asset column remains completely empty. Now look at the rich cash flow. When they receive income, they immediately dump it straight into the asset column. They buy income-producing real estate, dividend-paying stocks, or private businesses. Then, they use the cash flow generated by those assets to pay for their luxury cars, big houses, and vacations. They don't buy luxuries with their salary. They buy them with their asset returns. This brings us to the biggest controversy in the book. Kiyosaki famously states, "Your house is not an asset, it's a liability." When the book came out, people were furious. But look at the math. If you own a home that you live in, and every single month money flows out for property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and a massive 30-year mortgage, that house is taking money out of your pocket. It is a liability. It only becomes an asset if you sell it for a profit later or rent it out to a tenant who pays you more than the expenses. 28 minutes to 38 minutes. Section 3. Mind your own business. Tone, motivating, direct, business-focused. Our next lesson is incredibly empowering. Mind your own business. Robert asks a very distinct question here. What is the difference between your profession and your business? Most people think they're the same thing, but they aren't. To explain this, Robert tells a story about Ray Kroc, the legendary founder of McDonald's. Ray was invited to speak to an MBA class at the University of Texas. After the lecture, Ray asked the students, "What business am I in?" The students laughed, thinking it was a joke. One student raised his hand and said, "Ray, everyone knows you're in the hamburger business." Ray chuckled and said, "No, I'm not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate." Ray Kroc understood that his profession was selling hamburger franchises, but his business was accumulating land. He knew that the real estate under every single McDonald's franchise was the most valuable asset because the location guaranteed long-term wealth. Robert's point is that too many people spend their entire lives minding someone else's business. When you go to work at a 9-to-5 job, you are making the business owner rich. You're paying taxes to make the government rich. You're paying interest to make the banks rich. Minding your own business means keeping your day job, but focusing heavily on building your own asset column. Don't just consume, invest. When your paycheck comes in, put a portion of it into assets that you own and control. Your profession pays the immediate bills, but your business is what builds your legacy. 38 minutes to 48 minutes. Section 4. Taxes and the Power of Corporations. Tone. Strategic, analytical, sophisticated. Lesson 4 takes us into the chess game of the wealthy. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. Most people think taxes have always existed, but they haven't. Originally in England and America, taxes were temporary levies used to fund wars. Eventually, governments introduced permanent income taxes, selling the idea to the public by saying, "This is only to punish the rich. We're going to take from them and give back to the poor." The masses voted for it, but governments grew massive, bureaucracy expanded, and the government needed more money. Soon, the tax code trickled down, and the middle class and poor became the ones heavily taxed. The truly wealthy, however, didn't just sit there and take it. They used their financial IQ to outsmart the system. Their ultimate weapon, the corporation. A corporation isn't necessarily a massive skyscraper with thousands of workers. It's simply a legal entity, a folder of papers in an attorney's office that operates under completely different tax laws than an individual worker. Look at the difference in how legal entities are taxed. Employees and individuals. They earn money.
The government takes taxes out immediately via payroll. They are forced to live on whatever is left. Corporations, the rich, they earn money. They spend as much as they can on legitimate business expenses like travel, corporate cars, board meetings, tech gear, and they are taxed only on what is left. This is completely legal, and it is how the rich stay rich. By building a high financial IQ, which involves understanding accounting, investing, market trends, and tax laws, you can protect your hard-earned cash from being wiped out by taxes. Studio microphone 48:00, 55:00, Section 5. Overcoming roadblocks, the 5 mental barriers. Tone: candid, realistic, empowering. Now, you might be thinking, if financial freedom is this simple, just learn the rules, minimize liabilities, and stack up assets, why isn't everyone rich? The truth is, even with textbook knowledge, most people face internal, psychological roadblocks. Rich Dad identified 5 main reasons why financially literate people still fail to build wealth. 1. Fear. The fear of losing money is totally real and completely normal. But the difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they handle that fear. Winners are inspired by failure. Losers are defeated by it. If you play it so safe that you never take a calculated risk, you guarantee that you stay exactly where you are. 2. Cynicism. We all know people who act like Chicken Little, constantly shouting that the sky is falling. The stock market is going to crash. The real estate bubble is bursting. It's a scam. Cynics focus on what can go wrong, which blinds them to massive opportunities. While the cynic plays it safe, the smart investor is analyzing the data and taking action. 3. Laziness. Laziness doesn't always look like a person sitting on a couch watching TV. The most destructive form of laziness is being too busy. People stay frantically busy with work, family, and errands as a way to avoid facing their reality and managing their financial future. It's an escape mechanism. 4. Bad habits. Our lives are a reflection of our habits, not our education. If your habit is to pay everyone else first, your landlord, your credit card company, the utility company, you will always have crumbs left over for yourself. Rich Dad practiced paying yourself first. Even when cash was tight, he invested his money first. The pressure of being short on bills forced his brain to get creative and find new ways to generate income. 5. Arrogance. Arrogance is ego plus ignorance. When you think you know everything, you stop learning. Many people use arrogance to hide their lack of financial knowledge. If you don't know a subject, admit it and go find an expert or a book to teach you. Studio microphone 55:00, 60:00, OUTRO, your blueprint for the future. Tone: inspiring, impactful, call to action. As we bring this deep dive to a close, let's look at the ultimate takeaway from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Your financial future isn't determined by the economy, the government, or your current boss. It is determined by the small choices you make every single day with the money that passes through your hands. Starting today, I challenge you to implement 3 simple action steps. Change your internal vocabulary. Stop saying, "I can't afford it." Wake your brain up and start asking, "How can I afford it?" Invest in your mind. Your brain is your absolute greatest asset. Read books, listen to financial podcasts, look at market trends, and learn a new high-value skill like sales or marketing. Start paying yourself first. The next time money hits your account, immediately set aside 10% or 20% to buy assets. Let that money accumulate, invest it wisely, and let compound interest do the heavy lifting. Breaking out of the rat race is a journey. It takes patience, discipline, and a willingness to think differently than the crowd. But the freedom on the other side is worth every single ounce of effort. Thank you guys so much for spending this hour with me. If this audio summary opened your eyes or gave you a new perspective on wealth, make sure to hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a life-changing breakdown. Until next time, keep learning, keep investing, and start building your asset column. I'll see you in the next one.